Since February is the month of love, I thought it would be lovely if I did a sketchbook spread on something a little bit more on the romantic side. So hi everybody, I'm Ward, and welcome to my channel, Wardrawsalot, and let's get right to the heart of it. Actually, before all that, this video was supposed to come out at least before on Valentine's Day, but I caught the flu and I was not able to do anything, and even my voice sounds a little different than normal. So everything just kind of got messed up and, ended up being after Valentine's Day. However, I personally feel like the entire month of February is a very lovely month. It's just, I don't know, it's the vibe I get. It's always the whole, I guess it is because of Valentine's Day, but I feel like it kind of spreads throughout the entire month, which I personally like. So yeah, I guess it's still suited to do something along the lines of this video, Plus, I already drew it, so there ain't no there ain't no we're not doing a video on this, you know what I mean? Okay, let's talk about the spread a little bit. So I'm not really much of a romantic. Okay, I'm not one in entirety. Most I've ever done is written some love poems, and those weren't because of love, those were because of heartache. And I feel like although people think that they might go hand in hand, they don't, I feel, especially after experiencing it. Don't get me wrong, I loved writing the poems and I loved them, but I did not love the feeling in which exuded out of me in order to write the poems. So there's that as a result. Romance is a very foreign idea to me. Culturally, it's not a big thing for me, and on top of that, it's just I wasn't, raised with a lot of love to that degree. So it is a strange concept, which is okay. It doesn't necessarily make it a weird thing. Maybe to others, yeah, but to me it's normal. So there is that factor. So me drawing romance as a result is also strange. I can almost never recall drawing couples like growing up or even in the recent years. Maybe it was like a one-off here and there just to try and test if I can draw two characters in that light, and that's about it. But otherwise, I'm not very good with how that builds up. I guess it's because I've never experienced it. So I experience it from a third-party lens through stories and through friendships and through what I've seen. So drawing characters like that is a challenge for me because I don't know how to put those emotions in a character like that. So I do what I always do, and I research things about these kinds of characters, and man, there's a lot of love material out there, so it's good that I can reference back to it. For this sketchbook spread, I decided to do a character that was much more ye old English. I don't know how to describe it otherwise, but around that era of maybe like the 16, 17, I don't know, 1800s, I don't know the proper time frame, but I just kind of went along with something like that. I guess it's kind of reminiscent of, what's that book? The Pride and Prejudice? Yeah, Pride and Prejudice, or like Bridgerton, whichever ones you've seen, basically around that era. I feel like for some reason, when I read or I watch material about love, the older love is much more romantic than the newer love that I see in a lot of these stories and shows being told. And I know that's like, it's strange, right? Because it's love is love. What's the idea of old love romance versus new love romance? And I feel like there really is a massive drift between the two, but it could be that the massive drift has something to do with just the time frame in general. Perfect example, way back when, right? You didn't really have a phone to constantly be in contact with your partner, along with, just talk to each other in general or see each other all the time. We have that capability now because of, the access of technology with phones, cars, all that kind of stuff, right? But with kind of like the old world romance, it was much more, I'm going to use the word painful, right? Because you yearn to see the one you love, but you can't, and it's probably due to distance or communication or little things like writing letters to each other that would take days to weeks on end to send out would really like make it feel much more sentimental and much more loving to each other, which is kind of where more of the idea of romance is pushed in. However, you also have the other aspect of old romance, which is kind of much more of a physical attraction, right? Today's love is much more focused on personality, the attractiveness when it comes to comfort with somebody, right? Because you have that choice to actually get to know the other person and really appreciate them for who they are. Granted, of course, we still have the people today who look at more of a physical attraction like they did in the ye old times, which is, kind of dumb because there's more dimensions to a person than the way they look. But yeah, everybody's, got their own thing, so whatever. In my opinion, if you are going to be with a person and you're going to love them and cherish them, you would have to take in every aspect of them, not just their beauty, but their intelligence, their personality, in my personal opinion, how kind they are or how caring, or, just like a whole bunch of other stuff to it. So old romance, although it's very looked at as like, oh my gosh, it's this beautiful romantic thing, it's like, is it really? A lot of it is just kind of based off of looks, and a lot of the time it was the guy kind of saying he wants this girl, and the families would be like, yeah, sure, bro, like, why not have this girl? It's also very heavily dependent on cultures, too, because, like, I'm Arab, alright, so the way we do things is just a little different, and it's much different now, too, modern day, like, Arab love versus, like, ye old Arab love, so there's a huge difference between all of this here. So a lot of it is just based on cultural definition too, so take things that I'm saying with a grain of salt, but overall, I think for like a good large majority of cultures, older love does include the most heavy feature of physical attractiveness and what the partner can reciprocate to the other person, versus a more modern day romance now, which is, do you feel comfortable with them? Can you really find love in this person in the sense that you enjoy this person and would like to be with them? And, there's always like all these arguments that come up around it too, like, oh, then why was old world love, like, they had less divorces and stuff like that? That's like a whole different ballpark, I know. But, like, people don't realize the times that they were in. A lot of these women could not divorce these guys, or they'd be left basically, like, homeless, which is, like, kind of messed up. So a lot of the time, women would put up with these relationships just so they could survive in the ye old days, which is part of the reason why things are done so differently and how romance has changed over a lot of that time. Let's also not forget that the way I'm also interpreting it is from a genre standard, right? Because I feel like the way books write about romance is a completely different thing than how it is felt in actuality. The genre and reading it in itself is very enticing, right? Because you have the idea of two lovers and you could put yourself in that position, and a lot of people want to feel that emotion of romance and how it truly, makes the heart flutter, right? So we have that aspect of romance, which I feel like is what is seen a lot of the time, right? I feel like especially whether it's media or just like books, or if you see it between people, you think that the romance aspect is very much the fantasy side of it. Romance is depicted in a lot of different ways, however, so it's not just what is seen in books. There are different ways people love and different ways they express that kind of love and all that jazz, I'm also just going to be honest, this is a very heavy topic. It's very large, and it's huge. Love, romance, and everything in between in that spectrum is a very massive subject, and, this is a 14-minute video, so I don't think I'm going to get through all of it. But I love the concept of love, and although that's something that sounds strange that I can love, but it's true. Seeing how many different ways it is interpreted and how cultures look at it versus how it is socially and psychologically, it's all very interesting to me, and I've always had an interest in it. And I'm kind of glad I get to see it in that sense without my romantic take, I guess, into it. Yeah. But for one thing, I personally do believe everybody should experience some kind of love in their life. I think we as humans need it to survive. I think without it, we become very cruel and cold beings. And on top of that, it just doesn't make for a very happy life overall. I know that's very, maybe that's very a personal note or something, but I thoroughly believe that all humans need some kind of love from some kind of angle. Some people have the familial love, some people have partners, some people have love from their pets, you know, like they cherish the pets and then they're almost like a family member or a like a child to some. And although everybody shows it differently between culture to culture or socially or psychologically or a bunch of different ways, everybody has their intent on doing it. But remember that sometimes some ways that people show love aren't really love. Remember that factor too, because if a love is harming someone else, then it isn't love, because then that is not coming from a place of the heart. It is coming from a place of, I don't know where, but I'd like to not say the heart. It's definitely not coming from somewhere of love and joy and kindness, so be very careful with how people define their love too. Things that are harmful are not love. They are believed that it is through experiences, but just be very careful with things out there. It's very important that I say that because there are many people who think that love is messed up and it's bad and it's shown a way that shouldn't be, but that's only because the people who were shown that love were messed up in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much more to this and there's so many different layers. But I know that one thing that I always try and do, especially at the end of every video, is say I love you guys. And that's because sometimes just hearing that can really make a difference. I know I'm, behind the screen and you've never met me and all this stuff, but you are someone who is loved and deserves love and is worthy of love, okay? This is something I stress about really hard because it is something that was so difficult for me to wrap my head around growing up and even till this day. So it is a subject that, although I love, is also very painful and it's very hard, especially for a lot of people out there. But truly, I genuinely mean it to the bottom of my heart that you are worthy of whatever you think you are not worthy of, and you truly deserve to feel the feeling of love, regardless of whether it is familial, romantic, or I guess anything in between, whether it's just a crush. And although a lot of different things like happen in life and things are the way they are, truly you are incredible and you are worthy of that love. Now, it's very difficult and it's very hard to kind of grasp your head around or understand. I know it is for me, but again, you are worthy of it. Although it is represented in different ways between all other people and how things are done and how people describe it, just remember that sometimes love is very difficult for others to describe as well. So if you're somebody who gives love very easily, it might not be so easy for others, and vice versa. So take your time with understanding that, especially when it comes from a place of people that you might not understand or know or, just overall live through. So please understand and know that love is very heavy of a subject, and like I said earlier, this is only a 14-minute video, but if I could get through some kind of discussion, there we go, if I could get through some kind of a discussion about this, then that's what's really important to me, especially because this subject is stretched throughout, I think, everybody's lives, and it's very important for everyone to know, and I think should be studied a little bit more, and I kind of want to go more in depth one day. But yeah, until then, thanks for watching, and remember, I love you. Bye.